Chapter 1637. What bullshit treasure key? Do you think that if I had it, I would still be here waiting for you to snatch it? Pang Shuwei looked at Zhuoji with disdain. What do you mean by that? When Zhuoji heard Pang Shuwei's words, the expression on his face changed slightly. The corners of his mouth twitched violently as he said, "Did someone beat us to it?" When Zhuoji finished speaking, his gaze fell on the people behind Pang Shuwei. Seeing that they were all wrapped in bandages, it seemed that he was really a step too late. Suddenly, Zhuoji's expression became extremely ugly. "Who is it?" Zhuoji stared at Pang Shuwei and asked. "He." Pang Shuwei said coldly, "Who else could it be other than that old thing Ching Qingfeng?" When Pang Shuwei mentioned this name, his face was filled with killing intent and his eyes were filled with killing intent. When Zhuoji heard Pang Shuwei's words, he harumphed coldly and said, "No wonder this arrogant old thing actually took a detour when he saw me today. So it turns out that he has such a big treasure." After Zhuoji finished speaking, his gaze turned behind Pang Shuwei and he said coldly, "But when did you become so weak? You can't even deal with Ching Qingfeng. I heard that you even lost second brother Pang?" "Shut up." Pang Shuwei's eyes were filled with coldness as he looked at Zhuoji and said, "I don't have what you want here. Scram. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite." "Ha. How interesting." Zhuoji looked coldly at Pang Shuwei and said, "With your defeated army? You still want to be impolite to me? It's more than enough to deal with you." There was a faint smile in Pang Shuwei's eyes, and the sarcasm in his eyes made Zhuoji's face turn extremely ugly. Just as he was about to say something, his gaze fell on Jing Yu, Xiao Chen, and the others at the side. "No wonder you're so confident." Zhuoji's sinister eyes quietly sized up Xiao Chen and Jing Yu's team. When he saw Jing Yu and Shangguan Linglan, there seemed to be a strange look in his eyes. "So you found a helper?" Zhuoji's lips curled up as he spoke calmly. "It has nothing to do with them." Pang Shuwei was afraid that people like Jing Yu and Xiao Chen would be dragged into this. He took a step forward and once again attracted Zhuoji's attention. When Jing Yu and Xiao Chen saw Pang Shuwei's actions, they were a little surprised. Then, the corners of their mouths curled up slightly. Pang Shuwei was not bad. Their intervention was not in vain. Jing Yu snuggled up to Jing Yu indifferently. She lowered her eyes slightly and did not say anything. "I'll let you go today. I'm not the kind of person who takes advantage of a situation." Zhuoji looked coldly at Pang Shuwei and said, "One day, I'll defeat you with my own hands. You'll never be able to be arrogant in front of me." "Ha. I'll be waiting." Pang Shuwei was not afraid at all and brazenly accepted the challenge. "Let's go." Zhuoji actually wanted to take Pang Shuwei's life, but the key to the treasure was more important now. Moreover, Jing Yu and Xiao Chen's people had been silent all this time, making it difficult to gauge their strength and attitude. Chapter 1638. Zhuoji naturally didn't dare to act rashly, which was why he was on his guard. After saying those harsh words, he led his men and disappeared without a trace. From the looks of it, he was obviously going after the treasure key. "I didn't expect Zhuoji to come here. It seems like the news spread too quickly," Pang Shuwei said with deep worry in his eyes. "Master Xiao, Madam Xiao, you saw what happened just now." Pang Shuwei thought for a moment, then turned to Jing Yu and Xiao Chen and said, "In this situation, it's too dangerous for you to stay with us. We will leave by ourselves tomorrow morning. Thank you for your help. I am very grateful." Pang Shuwei said solemnly and bowed deeply to Jing Yu and Xiao Chen. "Young Master Pang is too polite." Jing Yu smiled casually and said, "We just met by chance. However, young Master Pang, look at how seriously injured you are. What if you meet evil people again?" "It's fine. If we can't beat them, we can still run." Pang Shuwei looked at his brothers behind him and said seriously. Jing Yu was immediately amused. She looked at Pang Shuwei and said, "You really make it sound so natural. We are all after the treasure. Why don't we work together?" Jing Yu's eyes turned slightly and said with interest, "Work together?" Pang Shuwei frowned and looked at Jing Yu with deep suspicion in his eyes. Jing Yu smiled faintly as if she thought of something. She raised her eyebrows and looked at Jing Yu and said, Madam, tell me. It's very simple. You saw it too. There are so many people fighting for the treasure. I don't believe that these people are all fools. If they act alone, they will be swallowed by others sooner or later. So, in this place where we don't know, many people might have formed an alliance. Those people have formed an alliance. If they enter the treasure trove, won't we be completely killed? Jing Yu's words were very calm, but Pang Shiwei frowned deeply when he heard them. Jing Yu's words were indeed a very fatal problem. So now, our best option is to form an alliance. This way we can expand our circle. If we act loosely, I think we will be killed by those big forces very quickly, right? We might not even be able to enter the treasure trove before we die in the desert. Jing Yu's words could be said to be extremely simple and crude, but also easy to understand. Pang Shiwei exchanged glances with the person behind him. Obviously, he also realized what she meant. He frowned slightly as if he was thinking about something. This is indeed a big problem. Pang Shiwei nodded slowly. If we form an alliance, we'll have an extra layer of protection in this desert. My request is very simple. Tell me. Although Pang Shiwei was very grateful to Jing Yu and Xiao Chen, he would not blindly believe Jing Yu and Xiao Chen's words. If it was something that would harm him, he would definitely not do it. I'm not very interested in the treasure trove. If we really enter the treasure trove, I don't want a single cent. But when Jing Yu said that she did not want a single cent, she clearly saw a trace of shock on Pang Shiwei's face. Chapter 1639. But I want you to help me save someone. Jing Yu said calmly. She frowned and looked at Jing Yu and Xiao Chen's group again. She frowned slightly, as if she was weighing the pros and cons. What do you think? Jing Yu asked with a faint smile. Who do you want to save? Pang Shiwei asked after a moment of silence. I can't tell you in detail. Jing Yu smiled and said, it's about killing people anyway. As for whether you want to do it or not, you should think about it carefully. Jing Yu was silent for a moment, then said, as long as you agree, I can guarantee that no one will be able to hurt you before you enter the treasure trove. Jing Yu's words were extremely arrogant. Pang Shiwei frowned slightly. Clearly, Jing Yu's words had moved Pang Shiwei's heart. Jing Yu was right. Pang Shiwei had also received some news that the large factions had joined forces. He had heard that the first thing they would do was to bury these small teams in the desert. It was very likely that they wouldn't even be able to enter the desert. However, Jing Yu said that she had the ability to protect them. Moreover, she didn't want a single cent after entering the treasure trove. She only wanted them to help her save someone. It was obvious that this person wasn't that easy to save. Pang Shiwei was in a dilemma. Young Master Pang, you don't have to worry about discussing it with the other young masters. You can tell me when you have a decision. Jing Yu said casually, then turned and sat back down on the withered tree. Pang Shiwei really went to discuss it with the others. After that night, nothing happened. Jing Yu slept peacefully until dawn. Her eyes were tinged with a faint smile. Seeing that Xiao Chen's eyes were still closed, as if he didn't want to open them, Jing Yu smiled faintly. She reached out to poke Xiao Chen's cheek, but there was no reaction. Just as Jing Yu was about to poke Xiao Chen for the third time, Xiao Chen tilted his head and bit Jing Yu's hand. Ouch! Jing Yu exclaimed. She stared at Xiao Chen with disdain and said, I didn't wash my hands when I pooped. Xiao Chen looked at Jing Yu, and his face instantly turned ugly. Although he knew that Jing Yu was joking, the thought of that scene made his stomach churn. How could he marry such a wife? Xiao Chen silently pushed Jing Yu away and walked to the side to rinse his mouth with precious water. He wanted to rinse his mouth a few more times, but Shangguan Linglan grabbed the water with disdain. He stared at Xiao Chen angrily and said, Do you know how precious this water is? Xiao Chen looked at Shangguan Linglan stiffly. He seemed to feel much better, so he stopped talking. Jing Yu saw this scene and laughed happily. After laughing for a while, Qinggu went to help the men change their bandages. Pang Shiwei walked towards Jing Yu and Xiao Chen. Jing Yu knew very well that Pang Shiwei would definitely not reject her proposal. Obviously, her guess was right. Pang Shiwei really agreed. Madam, you have to keep your promise. Pang Shui looked deeply at Jingyu and said. Chapter 1640. Of course. Jingyu agreed happily. With the addition of Pang Shui and the rest, the team grew a little stronger. Jingyu happily led the group forward. Jingyu had only guessed that the big factions would form an alliance, but she did not expect to verify it in the morning. Jingyu and the rest had only walked for 2 hours when they bumped into a man covered in blood running towards them. Help! When the man saw Jingyu and the rest, his eyes were filled with joy and he hurriedly rushed over. Jingyu and the rest could not avoid him even if they wanted to, so they could only stop and look at the man who had fallen head first beside them. They frowned in confusion. Chingu almost could not help but rush forward. However, when he thought of what happened on the Great Plains, Chingu held himself back and stood stiffly at the same spot. Jingyu looked at Chingu and nodded in satisfaction. This time, he had learned his lesson. Molly, go and see who it is. Pang Shui frowned slightly and said to the man beside him. The man called Molly went forward and looked at the wounds on the man's body. When he turned the man over and saw the familiar face, his eyes widened in shock. He turned to Pang Shui and said, "Third brother, it's Black Bear's men." Black Bear's men? When Pang Shui heard Ma Li's words, a look of shock appeared on his face. He frowned slightly and walked towards the man. He frowned and said, "It's too late. It's hopeless." Third brother, how did Black Bear's men end up like this? I remember that Black Bear brought many men with him. Molly looked at the man who had lost his breath and asked after a moment of silence. Black Bear did me a favor. Let's go and take a look. After Pang Shui said this, he raised his head and looked at Jingyu and Xiao Chen with a questioning look in his eyes. Xiao Chen nodded slowly, indicating that it was okay. Then, the group walked forward again. After walking for a while, they saw the battle in front of them. Pang Shui's eyes widened and he glanced around. Then he pulled out the large knife at his waist and rushed forward. The people behind Pang Shui all rushed forward. Jingyu and Xiao Chen stood still for a moment. After seeing which side Pang Shui was helping, they jumped off the back of the camel and rushed in together. "Bull Bear, let me help you." Pang Shui roared loudly, attracting the attention of most of the people on the field. The originally precarious situation of the battle also changed. Originally, Pang Shui wanted to test the strength of Jingyu and Xiao Chen's group. But after testing, he was shocked. He originally thought that Jingyu and Shangguan Linglan didn't know martial arts. But looking at the situation now, Jingyu and Shangguan Linglan were slaughtering their way through the crowd without holding back. The men were even more so. Only Chingu was standing at the side leisurely. Xing Shiwu took on the responsibility of protecting Chingu. Pang Shui was very surprised by this situation. Looking at Jingyu and Xiao Chen, it was obvious that they didn't use their full strength. Especially Xiao Chen, who was so calm. With the addition of Jingyu and Xiao Chen, the people on the other side couldn't hold on and chose to retreat. Chapter 1641. Don't chase a cornered enemy. Jingyu originally wanted to stop these people, but since Pang Shui had spoken, Jingyu stopped and looked at the people who were leaving. She calmly raised her eyebrows and stood still. "Old Xiong, are you all right?" Seeing that the people had left, the skinny man leaned on his sword and gasped for breath. He coughed out a mouthful of bloody sputum. "I'm fine." The man shook his head slightly. Jingyu looked at this scene and raised her eyebrows in surprise. It seemed that this skinny man was the black bear that Pang Shui had mentioned, but Jingyu frowned. This man's skin was really dark, but he didn't look like a bear at all. When Jingyu heard Pang Shui mention black bear, she thought that she would see a man as strong as a bear. Who knew that she would see such a skinny man? "Chingu, take a look at him," Jingyu called out to Chingu even though she was reluctant in her heart. Coming, Chingu accepted his fate and stepped forward, telling himself over and over again that the capable should do more work. However, just as Chingu was about to step forward to check on He Xiong's injuries, he was blocked by a woman who jumped out from behind He Xiong. The woman's face was covered, and her appearance couldn't be seen clearly. However, when Chingu looked at her pair of dark eyes that were like stars, he couldn't help but be shocked. Thinking about it, this woman must also be a beauty. Big brother Xiong, let me take a look at your injuries. The woman looked at Qinggu with vigilance and arrogance. Then she began to take his pulse. This time, Qinggu was stunned. Looking at the woman's appearance, he didn't think that this woman also knew medical skills. And a woman? Qinggu suddenly became excited. Later on, Jingyu found out that this woman who knew medical skills was an extremely rare existence. In Miracle Medical Valley, there wasn't even a single female disciple. This was because even if this woman knew medical skills, she would enter the palace and become a female doctor. In the future, she would marry into a good family, who would hide in the mountains. Therefore, Qinggu was so surprised and happy to see a woman who knew medical skills. Big brother Xiong, your injuries are fine. Let me help you bandage them. The woman said as she took out something from her medicine box. Little sister Ku'er is still so gentle. Pang Shiwei said with a sigh. Why did she follow a stupid bear like you? Pang Shiwei said as he unhappily patted He Xiong's shoulder. It's really heartwarming. It's broken, it's broken. The black bear suddenly cried out exaggeratedly. Stop pretending. Pang Shiwei was both angry and amused. Big brother Xiong, your shoulder isn't broken. The girl called Ku'er said in all seriousness. Heh. Black Bear laughed awkwardly and didn't say anything. Qinggu stood at the side and looked at Ku'er's skillful bandaging technique. His eyes were full of praise. Jingyu couldn't be bothered to watch Qinggu stand there and embarrass himself. She pulled Xiao Chen and asked him to drag Qinggu back. These people are? After He Xiong's wounds were bandaged, he stood up and looked at Jingyu, Xiao Chen, and the others. He had just seen that this group of people was not simple. Oh, look at my memory. I forgot to introduce them. Pang Shiwei hurriedly stood up and said, This is Xiao Chen, Master Xiao. This is his wife, Jingyu. I met them on the road yesterday. I am indebted to them for saving my life. Chapter 1642. So it's Master Xiao and Madam Xiao. My apologies. He Xiong politely cupped his hands after hearing Pang Shiwei's introduction. Xiao Chen and Jingyu also bowed their heads slightly to express their greetings. He Xiong also heard another layer of meaning from Pang Shiwei's words. Naturally, he understood the intention of forming an alliance. He frowned slightly and pulled Pang Shiwei to the side to whisper to him. Jingyu and Xiao Chen didn't take it to heart. However, Qinggu couldn't hold it in any longer. When he saw that Miss Ku'er was free, he hurriedly walked over. How should I address you, miss? I saw that you are skilled in medicine. May I know who your master is? Qinggu politely bowed slightly to the miss and asked. What does it have to do with you? However, it was clear that the miss didn't care about Qinggu. She looked at Qinggu with vigilance and arrogantly snorted before turning around and walking back to the group. Qinggu touched his nose and awkwardly touched the tip of his nose. What? Our young master Qinggu also has feelings for her? Jingyu teased Qinggu. Ninth sister-in-law. When Qinggu heard Jingyu's words, his face immediately turned red. He stared at Jingyu and said, You know that I didn't mean it that way. Why are you still laughing at me? Ha! Jingyu laughed out loud. Pang Shiwei and He Xiong walked over. Their faces were filled with seriousness. Jingyu and Xiao Chen also adjusted their attitudes. Seeing the two approaching, they frowned slightly. Madame Xiao said that something really happened. Pang Shiwei said, What? Jingyu was slightly stunned and asked with a frown. The people we just bumped into are from the large sections. They have already formed an alliance. He Xiong said slowly to Jingyu, Shiwei told me about the matter between you two. I feel that we need to do something. Jingyu nodded slowly, indicating for He Xiong to continue. I came in this direction originally to look for Shiwei. After hearing the news about him, I wanted to discuss a countermeasure. However, I didn't expect to be surrounded halfway. Fortunately, you guys arrived in time. It seems that these people from the Alliance can't wait to make their move. However, the current situation is still a bit troublesome. Pang Shiwei said slowly, These people must be targeting small teams like ours. Eliminate them first. Jingyu nodded slowly and said, If we don't stick together now, we'll be buried here next. Jing Yu's words were filled with seriousness. He Xiong and Pang Shiwei looked at each other and saw the worry in each other's eyes. Then, He Xiong clenched his fist fiercely and said, "I don't believe that these people are really so arrogant. Old Xiong, I have an idea." Pang Shiwei's eyes lit up and said, "Just as Madame Xiao said, if we don't band together now, we will be mercilessly wiped out." "What do you mean?" He Xiong frowned slightly and looked at Pang Shiwei. "It's very simple. If we combine all these scattered teams together, we will be able to stop those large sections." Pang Shiwei said excitedly, "When we enter the treasure, we will have the ability to protect ourselves. This way, we can preserve the strength of our team. What do you think?" Chapter 1643. When Jing Yu heard Pang Shiwei's words, she let out a sigh of relief. She didn't waste all her efforts. Pang Shiwei wasn't a fool after all. He finally brought the issue to this point. "I think it's feasible." He Xiong thought carefully for a moment, then nodded seriously and said, "Although most of these teams have some friction, there isn't any deep hatred. In this kind of situation, it's best if they can merge together." "That's right." Jing Yu nodded slowly. "If we can gather this force together, it will be of great help to us and the current situation. I'll go spread the news now." He Xiong turned to leave, but Jing Yu stopped him. "What's wrong?" He Xiong paused and looked at Jing Yu with some confusion. "We can't just spread the news like this." Jing Yu pursed her lips and said, "If we spread the news like this, it will definitely be noticed by the people outside. Maybe we can beat them at their own game." Jing Yu's words were full of calculation. He Xiong and Pang Shiwei looked at each other with eyes full of confusion. They turned to Jing Yu and waited for Jing Yu to continue. "It's a very simple reason," Jing Yu said slowly. "If we gather everyone here with great fanfare, it will definitely attract the attention of the big forces. If our location is exposed, what will we do if those people are surrounded on the way? Wouldn't it be more of a loss if we do that?" Jing Yu's words were calm. She looked at Pang Shiwei and He Xiong and said, "But think about it from another perspective. What if we become the hunters? Pick a few mid-level teams and notify them openly, attracting the attention of the big forces to these teams. As for the other teams, notify them secretly. If we meet up with these mid-level teams quietly, we might have a chance of winning." Jing Yu said calmly. Xiao Chen nodded in agreement when he heard what she said. She had the same idea as him. "What does Madame Xiao mean?" Pang Shiwei seemed to have understood what Jing Yu meant, but he wasn't particularly sure. He frowned slightly and asked again, "Why did you choose a mid-tier team instead of a top team or a weak team?" "It's very simple," Jing Yu said calmly. "Think about it from another perspective. If you were to eliminate a top team, wouldn't you send more people? Because you're afraid that you won't be able to kill them, or that you might be counterattacked. If this is a weak team, they will be suspicious. You didn't choose any other teams, but chose these useless teams. Is there some kind of trap in this? Therefore, this mid-level team is the best choice. Because to deal with these mid-level teams, we don't need to send a lot of people, and they won't suspect that it's a trap. If we meet them, we can kill everyone and not let anyone escape. Wouldn't this keep our secret? Wouldn't it attract the enemy's attention to this mid-level team?" Jing Yu's analysis was clear and logical. The two people who didn't understand at first widened their eyes when they heard Jing Yu's words. They looked at Jing Yu in amazement and clapped their hands. Madame Zhao's plan is really brilliant. Chapter 1644. Haha. Jing Yu smiled and said calmly, "I can't say it's brilliant, but it's just a trick. I'll do as Madame Xiao says right now." He Xiong looked at Jing Yu with admiration in his eyes and quickly went to carry out her orders. Jing Yu smiled calmly and turned to look at Xiao Chen beside her. She tightened her grip on Xiao Chen's hand. Her eyes, hidden under the veil, were full of pride. "TSK, TSK, TSK? Shengguan Linglan sighed and said, "What's wrong with you and Miao Qiu's heads? You're the one who didn't bring your head with you when you went out," Jing Yu said slowly. Shengguan Linglan's face instantly darkened. How could she talk about her good sister like that? Jing Yu would definitely reply calmly that good sisters were meant to be insulted. He Xiong gave his orders and sent someone to investigate the location. Then he happily walked towards Jing Yu and the others and said, I found the news. There are 2 mid-level teams nearby. I've already sent them the news. We'll be moving out too. Okay, Jing Yu turned around and replied. Then she looked at Bai Jiao and Xing Yi and raised her eyebrows calmly. Linglan, do you want to stay here and guard? Or do you want to come with me to play? Jing Yu smiled at Shangguan Linglan and asked. When Shangguan Linglan heard Jing Yu's words, he stood up without thinking and said, Don't even think about going alone without me. Ah. Jing Yu's eyes were full of smiles as she said calmly, Since that's the case, Xing Yi and Xing Shiwu will stay here to protect Qing Gu and Bai Jiao. Linglan and Xing Er, you two will come with me. Yes, Xing Yi and Xing Er replied respectfully. Madam Xiao, this? He Xiong saw Jing Yu and the other 2 girls and felt that it was strange. However, when he thought about how Jing Yu and Shangguan Linglan didn't lose out in the fight just now, he silently swallowed his words. It's fine, let's go. He Xiong shouted and called 3 people to go with him. Pang Shui also called his people and everyone led this large group of people to follow He Xiong. It was not a good job for Interrogation Officer 1 to stay behind to guard this place, because he could not be sure if their team would be attacked. However, there were 3 teams here, so the chances of them being attacked were really too small. Right now, the major forces had just formed an alliance, and it was still the time for them to get used to each other. If they chose to attack 3 teams at this time, they were either out of their minds or had taken the wrong medicine. Mississippi. Can I call you that? As soon as Jing Yu left, Qing Gu eagerly went over to Ke and called out to her with a smile. The girl called Ke glared fiercely at Qing Gu and turned to leave. Wow, you really have a complete set of herbs here. Qing Gu persevered and followed her. When he saw the herbs on the ground, he exclaimed in surprise, You must have dug these herbs out from the desert, right? Don't touch them. Seeing that Qing Gu was taking her medicine, Ke angrily snatched it away and said, You're just a little doctor. How can you be so rude? Do you think you're from Miracle Physician Valley just because you recognize a few herbs? Chapter 1645. Ke glared at Qing Gu in disdain and put the herb down again. How did you know I'm from Miracle Physician Valley? Miss Ke, you're really smart. When Qing Gu heard Ke's words, his eyes widened in surprise as he exclaimed in delight. Shameless! Ke's face turned red when she heard Qing Ji's words. She said in disdain, If you're from Miracle Physician Valley, I'll take you as my master. Really? Qing Gu looked at Ke in surprise and said, But I don't want to take in disciples. It's too troublesome. When Ke saw that Qing Gu was really treating her as a member of the Miracle Doctor Valley, she held her breath and fiercely clenched her teeth. Then, as if she had thought of something, she fiercely glared at Qing Gu before standing up and walking away. She went back to her own circle to talk to other people. Qing Gu stood in place, feeling very confused. He seemed to want to ask why she was ignoring him, but he also wanted to say that he was really someone from Miracle Physician Valley. However, when he saw Miss Ke ignoring him, he immediately lowered his head in annoyance. He wasn't lying. He really was from Miracle Physician Valley. Qing Gu returned to Interrogation Officer 1's side with a heart full of hidden bitterness. He sighed deeply. Beside him, Interrogation Officer 1 found Qing Ji's appearance very funny, but he had to keep a straight face, not daring to laugh out loud. Cough cough. Bai Jiao's eyes were also full of smiles. He looked into the distance and wondered how Jing Yu and the rest were doing. Jing Yu and the rest had found the right route. However, the journey was still a little far. Jing Yu and Shangguan Linglan relied on Xiao Chen and Xing Er to carry them. They finally arrived at their destination in the evening. They rested for a while and waited. I'm so tired. Shangguan Linglan gulped down a mouthful of water and panted. Do you really think I brought you here to play? Jing Yu was also out of breath. She snatched the water bottle from Shangguan Linglan's hand and gulped down a mouthful of water. She closed her eyes and leaned against the sand to recover her energy. Everyone was resting. The 3 men who followed He Xiong originally thought that Jing Yu and Shangguan Linglan wouldn't be able to hold on. However, They didn't expect that they would be in better condition than them when they arrived at their destination. The three men immediately stopped underestimating them. I'm guessing that these people will definitely set up an ambush there. Perhaps we can play the game of the mantis stalking the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. After Jingyu adjusted her breathing, she narrowed her eyes and pointed at a cave. What do you guys think? Let's see what's going on first. He Xiong nodded slowly. After responding to Jingyu's words, he laid there and stared into the distance. If there really was an ambush there, someone would definitely poke his head out to check the situation. All that mattered now was patience. Jingyu quietly watched the scene in front of her. She didn't seem anxious at all. Jingyu and the rest weren't in a good spot. The scorching sun was really killing them. Everyone was so scorched that they didn't even want to say a word. Their vision was a little blurry. However, when they turned their heads, they saw that Jingyu and Shengguan Linglan were still holding on. How could the men be weaker than the women? Chapter 1646. Once she thought of this, she held herself back. She took a deep breath and continued to stare. Finally, just as Jingyu could not hold on any longer, there was a movement from the other side. Jingyu saw the movement on the other side and immediately became alert. Everyone also focused their attention on the other side of the hill. Originally, there was no one on the hill, but now, a person had quietly appeared. He seemed to be looking around vigilantly, trying to discern the current situation. Sure enough, Jingyu was right. Looking at the situation outside, Jingyu's body tensed up a little. She saw the person who came out to investigate. After carefully looking around, she went back to hide again. I guessed right. Jingyu slowly shrank back and nodded at He Xiong, Peng Shuwei, and the rest. She turned around and sneaked towards the place where those people were hiding. They definitely did not expect us to attack from behind. When Jingyu was close to them, she suddenly stopped and said, "Everyone remember. Start killing from the people furthest away. You must kill quietly and do not be discovered. As for the people furthest away, do not move. Understand?" Jingyu looked at everyone and reminded them again, "Do not mess up the overall situation because of a moment of pleasure. If that happens, it may mess up the plan and cause unnecessary casualties. Understand?" Understood. When everyone heard Jingyu's serious words, they nodded deeply to show that they understood. Jingyu was relieved. She stretched out her hand and took out her dagger. Then, she quietly surrounded the people who were lying in ambush. The people surrounding them were all focused on what was in front of them. Their backs were completely facing them. They would never have thought that the enemy they were waiting for would appear behind them. When Jingyu and the rest approached, almost no one noticed. She reached out and covered the mouth and nose of a person. Then, she cleanly slit his throat. This person did not even have the chance to make a sound. His eyes widened and he died without knowing why. Because of the open terrain, there were many people lying down in groups of 3 or 4. Therefore, in such a situation, 3 or 4 people were needed to act together. Jingyu, Shengguan Linglan, and Xiaochen cooperated very well. He Xiong and Peng Shuwei saw Jingyu and the rest killing people as if they were harvesting rice. They immediately twitched their mouths. They were worried about Jingyu and the other 2 girls. Now, it seemed that they were more worried about themselves. Under the scorching sun, the smell of blood was incomparably heavy. Jingyu looked slightly. Although the speed of the killing was fast, it was still not enough. There's no time. After calculating the time, Jingyu gestured to He Xiong and Peng Shuwei's people, indicating that they should retreat immediately. The people on the other side had just started to kill energetically. One of them had already aimed at someone. When he saw Jingyu's signal, he struggled slightly. Then, he remembered Jingyu's words before the operation and decisively chose to turn around and leave. Just as the man's figure disappeared, the person who was lying down seemed to have sensed something and turned his head slightly. However, he did not see anything. If He Xiong's men had really ignored Jingyu's words and went forward to kill this person, they would have been discovered. Fortunately, this person did not take his brother's life lightly and returned safely. Chapter 1647. Well done. Jingyu exclaimed in admiration. She leaned against the sand while panting slightly. She took a deep breath and said, "The dead will be discovered soon. Prepare for battle." After this incident, everyone was quite impressed with Jingyu. The way they looked at Jingyu had changed. They sighed deeply and replied, "All right, let's go. Let's go." Just as Jingyu and the rest were resting, a group of people appeared on the quiet road. Jingyu and the rest immediately tensed up and narrowed their eyes. He Xiong said excitedly, "Leopard's people are here." Good timing. Jingyu's eyes revealed a faint smile, and her eyes slowly narrowed into a cold arc. "Get ready to kill." A heavy murderous aura slowly emerged. However, this murderous aura did not come from Jingyu's side. Instead, it came from the person lying in ambush. He had finally found the person he wanted to kill. A strong murderous aura rose in his heart. The leader of the group, a burly man, suddenly raised his hand and halted everyone's footsteps. Everyone's gaze fell on the man in the lead. "Big brother, what's wrong?" one of them asked. The burly man didn't speak, his eyes quietly looking around. Suddenly, he felt a sharp arrow piercing through the air. The man's face suddenly sank, and he reacted quickly by raising his sword to block it. He shouted, "There's an ambush!" Suddenly, the people in the team were in a mess. They pulled out the long swords in their hands. Heads popped out from the sand and shouted arrogantly, "Surround them!" However, when these people stood up, they suddenly realized that the person behind them was still lying on the ground. Just as they were about to go over and call out to him, they saw blood slowly flowing out from his neck. Suddenly, they were stunned. What's going on? What happened to them? The leader turned around and saw the people behind him. They were all lying on the ground. He didn't need to think to know that these people were all dead. But what's going on? How did he die behind my back? Moreover, he had died so quietly. Not good. There's an ambush. The man in the lead shouted and suddenly pulled out the long sword at his waist. He looked around vigilantly. Everyone pulled out the long sword in their hands. This scene immediately made the people below dumbfounded. What kind of situation was this? Jingyu, Xiao Chen, and the others were hiding behind the sand and rocks. When they saw this funny scene, they almost laughed out loud. Their eyes were full of smiles as they pursed their lips and made a gesture to the others. Then they brazenly attacked. This was a thrilling massacre. The person called Leopard by He Xiong was originally afraid of being ambushed. He thought that something big was going to happen. Who knew that not long after the ambush person stood up, he also shouted that there was an ambush. Leopard and the other people's expressions were very interesting. Was he telling them that those people were ambushers? Then, before they could figure out what was going on, another group of people suddenly rushed out. Without saying a word, they rushed towards those people who were lying in ambush. The people standing on the main road were instantly dumbfounded. Their eyes were full of doubts. Chapter 1648. Why are you standing there like a fool? Kill them for me. He Xiong had been killing for a long time. When he saw Leopard's group still standing there with their knives, he immediately shouted angrily, "He Xiong?" After hearing He Xiong's words, the person called Leopard finally saw them. They were all acquaintances. Without hesitation, he immediately ordered his men to kill them. The people who came to ambush immediately wanted to slip away when they saw that the situation was not right. However, how could Jingyu give these people a chance? "Leave one alive." Jingyu shouted. He Xiong's knife, which was about to slash down, suddenly turned around and hit the person with the back of the knife. Jingyu's side also killed all the people who were about to escape. This massacre could be said to have been resolved very quickly. Jingyu was very satisfied. She looked at the person who was knocked unconscious by He Xiong and nodded with satisfaction. "Lao Xiong." The strong man strode over and reached out to give He Xiong a big hug. He Xiong's thin body was almost beaten to death by his big fist. He immediately coughed and said angrily, "Are you fucking trying to kill me?" Brother," Leopard said very happily. Jingyu saw this scene and the corner of her mouth twitched fiercely. She really felt that the two people's names should be changed. Their physiques were completely incompatible. Why you here? Leopard asked after greeting Pang Shiwei. Of course we're here to pick you up, He Xiong said as he saw Jingyu tie up the unconscious person. He then said, this is Master Xiao and Madam Xiao. If it weren't for their divine foresight, I would be here to collect your corpse now. These sons of bitches. Leopard cursed fiercely. By the time Jingyu and Xiaochen returned to their original place, it was already midnight. These men didn't feel tired at all. They drank and made merry, looking very lively. He Xiong recounted what happened today vividly, causing everyone to exclaim repeatedly. They admired Jingyu and Xiaochen incomparably. Leopard was even more exaggerated when he saw their wounds when they assassinated people. Even the assassins of Sunluo Tower didn't have such means. They immediately described Jingyu and the others as if they were gods. Jingyu didn't care at all. She hid with Xiaochen and the others and slept peacefully. After a tiring day, Jingyu was really sleepy. Even if there was an important matter, it could be left for tomorrow. Jingyu had 2 teams here. Now, only one team had arrived. Tomorrow, there would be another fierce battle. Jingyu slowly drifted off to sleep with such thoughts in mind. When she woke up the next day, she found that the people who played until God knows what time were all lying on the ground and sleeping. Looking at this scene and the casual appearance of these people, Jingyu's eyes were tinged with a faint smile. These people are really emotional. Jingyu sighed faintly and said, Xiaochen responded faintly, as if he didn't want to say anything more. Pack up and get ready to leave. Jingyu stood up and looked at the distant sky. The scorching sun rose again. Jingyu slowly narrowed her eyes. Just as she was about to speak, the people sleeping there woke up one by one. Chapter 1649. When everyone was almost ready, Jingyu, He Xiong, and the rest set off again to pick up another team. This time, the place they were going to wasn't particularly far, but it wasn't close either. By the time Jingyu, Xiaochen, and the rest arrived, it was already noon. It was the time when the sun was at its fiercest. However, this time, it wasn't as easy as the previous time. This was because when Jingyu and the rest arrived, the sound of fighting suddenly came from the other side before they could even decide what to do. Jingyu and the rest's faces turned cold as they hurriedly went over. When they looked over, it was indeed a group of people killing each other. In this kind of situation, even if they had a belly full of schemes, it would be useless. Go! Jingyu didn't waste any time and suddenly went forward. The rest of the people behind her followed suit. Xing Er, Linglun, the 2 of you guard the periphery. Don't let anyone escape. After Jingyu said hurriedly, she went into the crowd and started a massacre. The people who were ambushed were still very nervous, but when they saw He Xiong's group of people, they immediately calmed down. After a series of killing this time, it lasted longer. There were people who were injured, but it wasn't as easy as the previous time. However, this mission was still completed perfectly. No one escaped the net. He Xiong also learned to be smart. Jingyu didn't say to leave anyone alive, so he knocked that person unconscious and tied him up. This is so satisfying. Pang Shiwei said excitedly. Old He, Stone, why are you guys here? The rescued man clutched his injured arm as he looked at He Xiong and Pang Shiwei in surprise. Can't you tell? Of course, we're here to save you, kid. He Xiong said happily. Don't tell me this was all part of your plan. You used us as bait. That person's eyes turned slightly as he looked at He Xiong and Pang Shiwei in horror. He Xiong and Pang Shiwei were stunned when they heard this. Kid, why are you still so smart? He Xiong said as he stared at the man in front of him with a conflicted expression. Great, you guys. You didn't even tell me your plan. When the man heard He Xiong's words, he instantly jumped up and said with a fierce expression, I thought I was going to die in this desert today. You scared me to death. Ha! When everyone heard this person's words, they immediately laughed. Pack, let's go. He Xiong ordered everyone to prepare to leave. He Xiong's group when they returned to their stop. After they returned to the place where they stopped, there was another round of exaggerated shouting. After they returned to the place where they were stopped, there was another round of exaggeratedly. When they returned to where they stopped, there they were, the people who had been knocked unconscious. But what would they? When the others peoples? When they were all people T. There were so many people. Some had grudges and some had favors. If they were to work together, killing and death would probably be the fastest way for them to work together. On the way back, Jing Yu was silent as she thought about something. Xiao Chen seemed to have sensed Jing Yu's thoughts and said indifferently, "There's a price for everything. You understand?" This, understand, was not a question, but a statement. Chapter 1650. Yes, I just suddenly felt unreconciled. Jing Yu sighed deeply and lowered her head without saying anything. Xiao Chen tightened his grip on Jing Yu's hand and smiled faintly without saying anything. However, this small action warmed Jing Yu's heart. She raised her head and looked at Xiao Chen with a satisfied smile. What Jing Yu didn't know was that after Jing Yu left, some people appeared at the same place as yesterday. Tower Master, look at this wound. Those people seemed to have accidentally barged in and smelled the scent of blood. They immediately came in to check, but they didn't see this scene. What a familiar technique. The man in the gray robe walked out with languid steps. He had a familiar face. Perhaps it was because his clothes were too hot, or perhaps it was because they were casually unbuttoned, revealing his muscular chest. His slightly raised chin and such a familiar face. Who else could it be but Feng Maching? Tower Master, this? The subordinate looked at the wound with shock in his heart. Don't look, Feng Maching said with disdain. When will the people of Sanluo Tower be able to kill people so beautifully? Then we'll really dominate the world. Let's see if those disgusting things still dare to touch us. Yes. When the subordinate heard Feng Maching's words, he immediately felt awkward. He silently swallowed his saliva and lowered his head without saying anything. But what makes me curious is... Feng Maching blinked curiously and said, "Why is Jing Yu with those people? Could it be that Jing Yu wanted to gather these people together? Why is that?" Tower Master, what did you say? The subordinate heard Feng Maching's words but didn't hear clearly, so he asked with a slight frown. Nothing. Feng Maching smiled faintly and said, "I just suddenly thought of something very interesting. Are those forces in the alliance now?" Yes, I told you about it last time, but you didn't pay attention to it. The subordinate felt wronged. Feng Maching curled his lips in disdain and said, "How can those people be worthy of being in the same team as me? What a joke." Yes. The subordinate answered repeatedly. Go, send a message to the Dark Een sect, Constellation Palace, and Nether sect. Since we have nothing to do, let's form an alliance. Feng Maching said casually, but the subordinate was instantly scared silly. If it wasn't an alliance, then it wasn't an alliance. Why did he directly pull all the giants over when he mentioned an alliance? Would they give him face? Tower Master, this? The subordinate wanted to say something, but he still didn't say anything. Just do as I say. Feng Maching frowned impatiently and said, "These people have been waiting for this moment. Are you afraid that they won't agree?" Yes. The subordinate felt conflicted in his heart, but since the boss had already given the order, he could only do so. Feng Maching curled the corners of his mouth happily. He originally thought that snatching the treasure would not be as fun as he had imagined. Now that Jing Yu and Xiao Chen were involved, it instantly became very interesting. He was really looking forward to what would happen next. Jing Yu had no idea that she had been targeted, but it didn't seem to be a bad thing. Feng Maching came quickly and left quickly. Jing Yu, Xiao Chen, and the others also returned to their destination. Chapter 1651. As time passed, more and more people joined the alliance. Jing Yu was very satisfied with this. However, as the number of people increased, the friction would gradually increase. It might not appear now, but it would happen sooner or later. After 3 to 4 days, Jing Yu had successfully gathered more than 10 teams. As for those who couldn't come, most of them died on the way. There was no need to wait any longer. Since this was an alliance, they naturally had to choose a leader. The simplest way to do this was to vote. There was no preparation. Only a leader who convinced the masses would be a better leader. Jing Yu and Xiao Chen's people automatically abstained from voting. Seeing these people quarreling over such a simple matter, she suddenly thought, is this the right thing to do? Fortunately, the quarrel didn't last long. There was a result. What surprised Jing Yu was that the person who was qualified was Pang Shiwei. She didn't expect Pang Shiwei to have such charisma. However, this was also good. Now, our goal is the treasure. It's the big forces of the alliance. Pang Shiwei's face was full of seriousness as he said, I know that there are some small conflicts between everyone. However, now is not the time to be calculative. If someone dares to assassinate us in the next operation, then don't blame me for being impolite. Pang Shiwei said coldly, I don't mind kicking that team out. I'll let you experience how you die without the protection of others. I hope you can understand. Pang Shiwei was nothing more than giving everyone the confidence to kill the enemy. He also gave some necessary warnings. One had to admit that Pang Shiwei's words were very good. After the warnings, he said that the treasure would be divided equally. It was a good method to win people's hearts. Jing Yu listened to the side for a while. Then, she walked over to Shangguan Linglan and Qing Ji's side. Shangguan Linglan also retracted his gaze. He looked at Jing Yu and asked worriedly, Jing Yu, after helping these people like this, are you sure that they will really help us when we encounter the sound attack family? If it were a different leader, I would be worried. Jing Yu sat down beside Shang Linglan and said, but if it's Pang Shiwei, I think it shouldn't be a problem. In fact, my goal isn't really to rely on the help of these people. What's that? Shangguan Linglan asked in surprise. It's very simple. I just don't want these people to get involved in this matter. If these people get roped in by the sound attack aristocratic family, then it won't be good for us. However, if these people get roped in by the sound attack aristocratic family, then it won't be good for us. Maybe he'll remember our kindness and help us. Actually, it's better to muddy the waters. Jing Yu said calmly, if we really rely on these people, wouldn't we be courting death? It's good that you know, Shangguan Linglan said with a sigh of relief. I couldn't tell that you brought your brain with you today. Jing Yu looked at Shangguan Linglan with a smile and said, you even know to remind me. Not bad, Jing Yu. When Shangguan Linglan heard Jing Yu's words, she immediately bared her fangs and brandished her claws as she pounced towards Jing Yu. With this person here, the atmosphere became a lot livelier. After Pang Shiwei finished speaking, whether they had enmity or not, everyone had a smile on their face. Chapter 1652. Let's not talk about whether he was sincere or not. It was good enough that he was smiling. It was much better than the arrogant and despotic aura from before. Everything that needed to be said had been said, and everyone was present. Once again, they set foot on the path towards the depths of the desert. It was unknown whether Pang Shiwei was doing it on purpose or not, but when leading the way, they would always bump into the big sects and alliances, and then a big fight would break out. Jing Yu and the others occasionally made a move, but Jing Yu knew that Pang Shiwei's intention was to give these people a chance to practice. After a long period of practice, there wouldn't be any backstabbing when the time came for a real battle. Pang Shiwei did a good job. Jing Yu and Xiao Chen also occasionally intervened. They didn't use their full strength and didn't let these people protect them. In Jing Yu's team, Jing Yu and Shangguan Linglan didn't show up at all. However, the methods displayed by these two had truly shocked everyone. If these two weren't already taken, wouldn't there be a lot of people trying to woo them? After all, these men in the underworld, although they said that they liked delicate women, conquering sometimes made people's blood boil. Just as this group of people was going deeper into the desert and fighting with some of the big sects, somewhere in the depths of the desert, they finally heard the news from this side. What's going on? What's going on? In the exquisitely built sand city, one of the middle-aged men was furious. Elder, we don't know what's going on either. During this period of time, countless forces have come in like crazy. According to their itinerary, they will reach us in less than 10 days. What should we do now? Could it be that some information was leaked? The middle-aged man's face was full of dignified expression. Another person on the side said, could it be that Bai Jiobrat brought them in? The last time, the wolf pack didn't eat him. It's really hateful. Back then, I said that I wanted to lock this person up, but you all said not to interfere with the affairs of the outside world. Look at what happened now. The person who spoke was relatively short. When he said this, he looked like he was jumping up and down. This kind of appearance was somewhat ridiculous. Stop talking. Just as everyone was arguing, the woman who had been sitting down slowly stood up and said, "We've been exposed the moment we entered the outside world. This day would have come sooner or later. Since we're going to reappear in the world, then we'll show those people how powerful we are." Second aunt, what do you mean? Hearing the woman's words, the quarreling people stopped and turned to look at the woman. When Big Brother died, he left behind a disciple. He must have passed down the second half of the beast taming art to his disciple. But now, that stinky girl has been playing dumb. I'm afraid she's waiting for this day, hoping that someone will come and save her. As the woman called Second Aunt spoke, her eyes were filled with resentment as she clenched her fists tightly. Second Aunt, this matter can't be rushed. After hearing the woman's words, the people behind her trembled slightly as if they thought of something. They were afraid that the woman would kill Baijio in a hurry. If that happened, the gains wouldn't make up for the losses. Chapter 1653. Second Aunt, Yi Shui is probably still on guard against us. I heard that she is on good terms with Second Young Master. Perhaps Young Master can get some information out of her. The middle-aged man looked at the woman and said, The woman nodded slowly and said, "Then let Hanger give it a try. Tell him to be careful and not let our efforts go to waste." Yes, we understand. The middle-aged man heaved a sigh of relief when he heard the woman's agreement. Also, when we went out, we offended someone with a different pupil. Once we master the complete beast-taming art, the next thing we have to do is to kill this person with a different pupil that hasn't fully matured yet. Otherwise, it's very likely that it will bring us a calamity. When the woman said this, her eyes were filled with ice. When the men beside her heard this, their faces also turned serious and they all nodded in agreement. The woman looked around at everyone and asked with a frown, "Where's Xiaoshi?" Second Aunt, Xiaoshi is sick and is resting in the room. The short man quickly walked out and said, "Why is her body still so weak? Is it the root of the illness from the last time you went out to deal with the other pupil?" The second aunt frowned slightly and asked with dissatisfaction. "Yes, ever since the last time we came back, Xiaoshi's body has been deteriorating day by day. The other pupil hasn't fully matured yet, but it's already so powerful. The few of us have also suffered heavy injuries." The man slowly stood in front of the woman and said, "As expected, it's a huge hidden danger." The woman's expression changed slightly and seemed to be a little ugly. She took a deep breath and said, "Let's deal with the matter at hand first. Since these people want to come, let's make sure they don't leave. Let the young masters practice their skills. They can do whatever they want. If they scare them away, then so be it. If they don't leave, then let them be buried in the belly of the wolves." The woman's voice was filled with coldness and she didn't hesitate in the slightest when she said these words. The three men answered and turned to do as they were told. This sand city was what Jingyu was looking for. However, from the looks of it, Jingyu knew nothing about this place. She also did not know that there was an extreme danger approaching Jingyu's group. Now, Jingyu's group was walking towards the depths of the desert with great difficulty. The more people there were, the more lively it was. Even walking didn't seem so tiring. What made those people very surprised was that Jingyu's camels were still there. Even Pang Shui, who met Jingyu first, couldn't understand why, let alone the others. When Jingyu told them that they came in 5 days later than them, but now they were on the same route as them, these people immediately knew that there must be an expert in Jingyu's team who was familiar with the route. That was why they didn't take so many unnecessary detours like them, resulting in their camels not being able to walk or being slaughtered for meat. "How far are we?" Shengguan Linglan sat on his camel in boredom. He and Jingyu looked especially noble. Qinggu took the initiative to give his camel to the woman in the Black Bear team who knew medicine. "Miss Ku, did you often run around with them in the past?" Jingyu curiously turned her gaze to the masked Miss Ku. Chapter 1654. Yes, ever since I was rescued by Big Brother Xiong when I was very young, I've been following this team. I like it very much. Miss Ku'er probably didn't like Chingu, so she spoke politely to everyone except for Chingu. Her face was filled with disdain. After Chingu went up to her countless times, he felt that he had been wronged. What did he do to make Ku'er dislike him so much? Especially when Chingu mentioned that he was a doctor from Miracle Medical Valley, Ku'er didn't even want to speak to Chingu. I'm so envious of Miss Ku'er. If only I could be like you. Shangguan Linglan said enviously. Big Sister Shangguan, you must be joking. I'm the one who's envious of you and your wife. Ku'er said as she looked at Jingyu and Shangguan Linglan with joy. She said, you guys are so powerful. If only I could be half as good as you. If you like martial arts, you can learn it. Jingyu laughed out loud when she heard this and said happily. My body has been weak since I was young. I can't learn martial arts. When Ku'er mentioned this, her eyes were filled with sadness. When Jingyu and Shangguan Linglan heard this, they were stunned. Looking at Ku'er's appearance, it didn't seem like she was sick. What? Miss Ku'er, you're sick? When Chingu, who was leading the camel in front, heard this, he raised his head in surprise and said, how are you sick? Let me take a look. Go away. Ku'er waved her sleeves in disdain and said, I know my own body. But Chingu felt wronged. He didn't even want to treat other people's illnesses. He didn't expect that when he wanted to treat someone, he would be disdained. Qingji's heart was filled with resentment, but he lowered his head helplessly and sighed deeply. He said, why is life so unpredictable? Jingyu looked at Qingji's dispirited appearance and found it funny. She smiled faintly. Miss Ku'er, Chingu is the chief doctor of Miracle Medical Valley. Perhaps he can help you find a solution. Jingyu pondered for a moment, then calmly spat out these words. Immediately his eyes widened, filled with disbelief. You're my sister-in-law. When Chingu heard Jingyu's words, it was as if he had heard the sound of nature. His eyes were filled with deep emotions and he almost shed tears. Finally, someone had cleared his name for him. What's going on? Jingyu didn't know what was going on. She had just casually said something, but why did Chingu have such a big reaction? Ninth sister, you don't know. Chingu seemed to have found an outlet and explained the whole story. He looked at Jingyu as if he was about to cry and said, I said I'm the doctor of Miracle Medical Valley, but she didn't believe me. Xing Yi and the others didn't help me. You don't know how painful it was for me these past few days. I can't speak of my suffering. Qingji's cries were exaggerated. Jingyu wondered if Chingu would sit on the floor as he spoke. Fortunately, this Chingu still knew how to be shameless. He only called out a little. I didn't know. Ku'er looked at Qingji's aggrieved expression and couldn't bear it. She had misunderstood him all along. She looked at Chingu with embarrassment and said, my daughter was blind and didn't recognize you. Please don't take offense. Chapter 1655. Chingu saw that Ku'er had already apologized. If he continued to act like that, it would seem like he was being petty. Thus, he immediately retracted the expression on his face. He reached out his hand and tidied his clothes. Then he respectfully bowed to Ku'er. However, can my illness really be cured? The two of them could be considered to have gotten to know each other again. She pursed her lips slightly and looked at Chingu expectantly. Whether or not it can be cured, I have to see it first before I can say. Chingu said in a serious tone. Ku'er nodded her head slightly. Just as they dismounted from the camel, a commotion broke out in front of them. Qing and Ku'er were so shocked that they immediately hid under the camel. The two of them were so synchronized that when they both hid, they were immediately stunned when they saw each other. You are a man. How can you hide? Ku'er glared at Chingu angrily. As she spoke, she wanted to push Chingu away. Chingu quickly lay down and said, I am a man, but I am only a doctor. I don't know martial arts. If I go out and get injured, how can I treat others? Chingu quickly said. But Ku'er furrowed her brows. Although it seemed to be true, Ku'er still didn't like the sight of a grown man hiding. That's enough, you two. Jingyu was speechless as she looked at the two who were hiding. She said, we probably met someone from a big power. Let's go ahead and take a look. You don't have to hide. There are so many people, they won't hurt you. Jingyu had just finished speaking when she saw a person running towards her in a panic. Master Xiao, Madam Xiao, third brother said that we met someone from a big power this time. I'm afraid it won't be as easy as the previous times. The three of you asked me to tell you to go ahead. Jingyu recognized the man in front of her. He was Pang Shiwei's subordinate Ma Li. Someone from a big power? Jingyu frowned and glanced at Xiao Qin. She then turned to Ma Li and asked, is it a power or? Ma Li swallowed his saliva. It's an alliance of big powers. I think there are 3 or 4 powers. They are all big powers. What? This time, it was Jingyu's turn to be shocked. According to Jingyu's deduction, these people would never gather together. If they were all big powers, they would not submit to each other. But now they were gathered together? Let's go and take a look. Jingyu said and was about to walk away. A 9th sister-in-law, then should we come out? Qinggu saw that Jingyu was about to leave and silently swallowed his saliva and asked. If you like to hide, then hide. Jingyu glanced at Qinggu and said. Then, she followed Xiao Chen and Shangguan Linglong to the front. While they were still in the crowd, they heard a very familiar sentence. I don't like you guys. So what if I hit you? Such a familiar voice and tone, and such a way of addressing himself. Feng Ling, don't you want your tongue anymore? Just as Feng Ling was flaunting her prowess and intimidating these people, she suddenly heard a familiar voice from the crowd. Her eyes instantly lit up in surprise. Chapter 1656. The crowd opened up a path, and Xiao Chen, Jingyu, and the others slowly appeared. Aya. Master Xiao, it's really you. Isn't this Madam Xiao? Feng Ling said enthusiastically. Pretend. Jingyu looked at Feng Ling with disdain, then glanced over. So, they were all familiar faces. Who else could it be other than Feng Maching and Suyu? However, when Jingyu looked at the man in black with a mask, she was shocked. This man really looked like Xiao Chen. Just as Jingyu was thinking this, the man in the mask seemed to be bowing respectfully to Jingyu. Or rather, it was not to Jingyu, but to Xiao Chen, who was beside Jingyu. Jingyu looked sideways at Xiao Chen's calm appearance and blinked in confusion. Xiao Chen seemed to know Jingyu's confusion. His lips moved slightly and he said something. Instantly, her eyes widened in surprise. So, he was from the Nether sect. Then, that person was the king of hell in disguise? He really looked like him. What are you doing here? Jingyu took a step forward and frowned at Feng Ling, Feng Maching, and the others. Her tone was not pleasant. Originally, Pang Shiwei called Jingyu and the others over because he thought that if a fight broke out, the main force would be in front. However, he did not expect Jingyu's tone to be so unpleasant. His heart skipped a beat, and he looked at the people in front of him with fear. These people were not to be trifled with. If it was only one faction, it would be fine. However, with so many alliances, it would be troublesome. We heard that you were here, so we came to take a look. Feng Maching said casually, is it fun to be with these people? Do you want to come with us? No need. Jingyu said disdainfully, go and play with your own things. Don't disturb us. TSK TSK TSK? Feng Ling glared at Jingyu unhappily and said, you're really addicted to playing. Say one more word and I'll tear your mouth apart. Jingyu said fiercely. Feng Ling shrank back and carefully glanced at Jingyu. Then, she looked at Xiao Chen and said, what a fierce woman. Luckily I married you. Feng Ling. Jingyu instantly went berserk. Ayaya, let's go. Feng Ling didn't wait for Jingyu to flip out and left with her men. Jingyu's mouth twitched fiercely. Just as she was about to speak, she suddenly saw a small figure appear. Of course, Jingyu recognized who it was. It was Feng Ling's younger sister, Feng Yu. Madam, where is Xiao Bai? He didn't come? Feng Yu blinked and asked Jingyu. He didn't come. Are you looking for him? Jing Yu raised her eyebrows slightly. She was surprised that Feng Ling would bring Feng Yu here. But on second thought, if Feng Yu wanted to come, Feng Ling wouldn't be able to stop her. It's nothing. Feng Yu smiled cutely. Then she turned around with disappointment and muttered, "Damn it. That brat dumped me last time and he dares to not come this time." Jing Yu heard Feng Yu's words and her lips curled into a faint smile. "Since you like this place so much, then stay here. We'll leave first." Feng Maching spread his hands casually. He looked at Jing Yu as if he wanted to ask something but didn't know how to ask. Chapter 1657. He's not here. I didn't see him after entering the desert. Jing Yu looked at Feng Maching's hesitant expression and shrugged. Jing Yu knew what Feng Maching wanted to ask, and Feng Maching also knew what Jing Yu wanted to answer. It was just that the two of them didn't point it out. Feng Maching heard Jing Yu's words and frowned. He took a deep breath and fell silent. He doesn't seem to have brought many people with him. I think you should go and look for him. Jing Yu was silent for a moment before she spoke again. After all, his identity is there. I will. Feng Maching probably didn't want to go at first, but Jing Yu's words gave Jing Yu an excuse to go. He pursed his lips slightly and agreed. Feng Maching and Feng Ling left. Ling Yong stood beside Su Yu. Compared to the last time they met, Su Yu had regained her high and mighty appearance. After staring at Xing Yi for a long time, she turned around and left silently. Finally, the people from the Nether sect nodded slightly at Xiao Chen and Jing Yu again. They lowered their eyes and left as well. When these people came, they were aggressive and looked like they were going to attack these people. However, after Jing Yu said a few words, they left without a word. Immediately, everyone looked at Jing Yu and Xiao Chen with strange gazes. Based on the meaning of these people's words, it was obvious that they were very familiar with Jing Yu's group. Since they were so familiar with Jing Yu's group, why did they still want to follow their group? If they followed these forces, they could do whatever they wanted. Pang Shiwei was even more confused. Jing Yu's group said that they didn't want the treasure. Since they didn't want the treasure and didn't need protection, then what did Jing Yu's group want? Pang Shiwei pondered for a moment. There was only one reason, the rescue that Jing Yu had mentioned. The purpose of Jing Yu and the others was probably just to go in and save the people safely. They also said that they wanted them to help save the people. It seemed that saving the people was really a troublesome thing. Otherwise, with the power of those big shots, they could have done it. However, he still needed them now. In other words, this rescue mission was very difficult, and he still needed their help. Now that he thought about it, he understood. Since Pang Shiwei was indebted to him and had agreed to help him at the very beginning, he would definitely not stand by and watch. But now that he thought about it, Jing Yu's claim that she could protect them from entering the treasure trove was indeed credible. After all, there were quite a few big powers opening the way for them. After today's incident, the status of Jing Yu and Xiao Qin had changed in the hearts of these people. No wonder Pang Shiwei treated Jing Yu and Xiao Qin differently. So this was the reason. You guys are still hiding? Jing Yu returned to her camel and was speechless when she saw the two of them still hiding and staring at each other. You chased them away? Qinggu asked excitedly when he saw Jing Yu return. No. Jing Yu stepped on the shelf and sat on the camel's back. She said, it was Feng Maching and the others. I chased them away. Sigh. Qinggu immediately heaved a sigh of relief. He crawled out on all fours and said, so it was them. They scared me. Chapter 1658. Feng Maching. Isn't he the tower master of Sanluo Tower? Kuer also stood up. When she heard the conversation between Qinggu and Jing Yu, her heart trembled slightly. She said with some fear, I heard that Sanluo Tower is an assassin organization that kills without blinking. Qinggu nodded seriously and said, these assassin organizations are all like this. Have you seen them before? I haven't. Kuer shrank back in fear. Don't be afraid. They are good people. Qinggu looked at Kuer's frightened expression and said seriously, let me tell you about this Feng Maching. In order to not frighten Kuer, Qinggu talked endlessly about Feng Maching's embarrassing matters. When he talked about the first time he saw Feng Maching, he was so disgusted that he almost vomited. Now that he thought about it, he just found it interesting. Jingyu listened to Qingji's words and a faint smile appeared in her eyes. Time really passed too quickly. In the blink of an eye, the first time she met Feng Maching had become a memory? Jingyu smiled slightly. Through a layer of gauze, she looked at the scorching sun in the distance. Once again, she felt dizzy. When would she be able to see the oasis? Didn't they say that they would see Sand City not long after seeing the oasis? Now, they couldn't even see the shadow of the oasis. What's Sand City? Everyone's water supply was running out. If they continued walking like this, it would be fatal. White Nine, did you see the oasis last time? Jingyu was silent for a moment and turned to ask White Nine. No. White Nine slowly shook his head and said, I didn't see the oasis. I was just a little further ahead when I was attacked by the wolf pack. When White Nine's words fell, Jingyu suddenly stood up and looked at White Nine with some fear and said, What did you just say? You met the wolf pack a little further ahead? You mean we are about to reach the place where the wolf pack gathers? White Nine slowly nodded and said, This is what I was about to remind you. It's broken. Jingyu frowned slightly. Then, as if she had thought of something, she hurriedly said to Xing Yi, stop the team and call Pang Shiwei over. Xing Yi obeyed. After a while, the group stopped. Pang Shiwei strode towards Jingyu. Madam Xiao, why did you suddenly stop? Pang Shiwei cupped his hands towards Xiao Qin and Jingyu before asking, Are you feeling unwell? Or is there something else? Pang Shiwei asked with a frown. Neither. You can't leave today. Jingyu frowned at Pang Shiwei and said, If we continue forward, we will reach the place where the wolves gather. We can't rush in recklessly. If we do, we will be in big trouble. Wolves? When Pang Shiwei heard Jingyu's words, his eyes widened in shock. He looked at Jingyu and asked in surprise, Are you sure? Haven't you always wanted to ask how we caught up so much faster than you? Jingyu raised her hand and pointed at Baijiuji. He went deep into the desert dozens of times. A few months ago, he was surrounded by a pack of wolves and ran away with half his life. Chapter 1659. Hiss. Pang Shiwei sucked in a breath of cold air after hearing Jingyu's words. His eyes were filled with astonishment. That's why we can't go any further. Otherwise, it will be very dangerous to spend the night inside. Jingyu frowned and said, We must be fully prepared. Pang Shiwei nodded solemnly after hearing Jingyu's words. He turned around and relayed Jingyu's words to the others. Everyone, who originally felt something, suddenly panicked. They seemed to be wondering what they should do. At the same time, they sighed in their hearts. Jingyu was really amazing. If it weren't for Jingyu and the others, they would be courting death. What should we do now? Pang Shiwei, He Xiong, Leopard, and the others gathered around Jingyu and asked with a frown. Wolves are afraid of fire. Jingyu said slowly, First, each of us must have at least 2 fire sticks, a bayonet, or a long knife. Everyone must also have a fire seed on them. Next, we need tree oil. The kind that can ignite the torch instantly. Jingyu said slowly, White Nine, where are the trees in this area? There is a place. White Nine thought for a moment and said, It's not far from here, but what's? Jingyu frowned and asked. But that place is occupied by some lizards. Some of these lizards are poisonous. I was bitten by one of those lizards last time. If we want to get the tree oil, we may have to fight. Okay, lead the way. Jingyu thought for a moment and nodded firmly. Then she looked at Qinggu and asked, Is that poison highly toxic? Can it be cured? Don't worry, it's not a highly toxic poison. It will only numb your body temporarily. It will be cured soon. Qinggu said casually. Jingyu nodded her head in satisfaction and smiled faintly. The most important thing now is to prepare these things. Remember, no one can be left out, Jingyu said solemnly. Understood. Pang Shiwei and the others nodded firmly. Then they went to call the others. They couldn't move forward today, but they also couldn't go to the lizard's place. It was said that lizards like to stay under the scorching sun and hide at night. Therefore, if he wanted to get the resin, he would have to wait until nighttime. Jingyu naturally planned to follow the group. If they encountered any big guys, her special pupils would come in handy. After giving out the orders, everyone went to look for a suitable piece of wood. They also checked if they had any useless rags to wrap around the wood. Jingyu and the others were very relaxed while they were doing these things. What are you thinking about? Xiaochen handed the water bottle in his hand to Jingyu for a long time, but Jingyu didn't take it. When Xiaochen called her, Jingyu took the water bottle. However, she only played with the water bottle in her hand. Xiaochen looked at Jingyu and frowned. Ah! Jingyu suddenly heard Xiaochen's question. Her expression was a little absent-minded. She smiled faintly and said, "Nothing, I just suddenly felt a little uneasy." Chapter 1660. What's wrong? Xiaochen pursed his lips and asked, "Are you worried about the Sonic Attack family?" Jingyu nodded slowly and said, "Back then, White Nine was attacked by the wolf pack. I have a feeling that the Sonic Attack family must have found out about White Nine's entry, so they manipulated the wolf pack to attack. Now that we're here, do you think the Sonic Attack family knows about our arrival?" Jingyu looked up at Xiaochen and asked. "That's possible." Xiaochen nodded slowly and said, "But you forgot one thing." Jingyu was stunned when she heard Xiaochen's words. She looked up at Xiaochen and asked, "What?" "So many people have entered this time, and were mixed in with the messy group. Do you think the Sonic Attack family has the ability to detect our arrival?" Xiaochen's words were very calm. Jingyu's eyes widened when she heard Xiaochen's words. "That's right. So many people have entered this time. How can the Sonic Attack family find us?" Jingyu's eyes widened in surprise when she thought of this. She said happily, "If that's the case, we haven't been exposed yet." Xiaochen nodded slowly and said, "But there's one bad thing. You can't use your abnormal pupil when we encounter the wolf pack. Otherwise, we'll be exposed." "I understand." Jingyu nodded seriously and said, "Even if I don't use my abnormal pupil, those wolves won't be our match." Jingyu's eyes were full of smiles. She said arrogantly, "No one knows the wolf pack better than me. As long as we kill the alpha wolf and attack it with fire, we'll definitely be able to drive the wolves away." Sound attacks are also divided into strong and weak. In the situation where they haven't discovered us, the people dispatched by the sound attack aristocratic family must not be very powerful. Our chances of winning are very high. After Jingyu understood, she suddenly became excited. "Yes, so you don't have to worry so much." Xiaochen adjusted Jingyu's veil and said calmly. "Phew." Jingyu looked at Xiaochen with a smile and said, "You're so smart." Xiaochen was silent for a moment. Then he leaned over and kissed Jingyu lightly on the cheek. Even though there was a thin veil between them, Jingyu blushed. She secretly looked around and saw that no one had noticed them. "Shall we go see those little lizards tonight?" Jingyu blinked and asked Xiaochen. "I thought you weren't going to tell me." Xiaochen seemed to be very bitter. Jingyu looked at Xiaochen's expression and smiled. She hugged Xiaochen's arm and shook it. When night fell, Jingyu woke up from her sleep. Smelling the cool night breeze, she sighed contentedly and said with a smile, "The most beautiful thing in the desert at night is the full moon. Don't tell me you want me to pick it for you." Xiaochen followed Jingyu's gaze and saw a snow-white full moon. After a moment of silence, he spoke. Jingyu was stunned by Xiaochen's words. She was so angry that her face turned red. She stared at Xiaochen and asked, "Do I look like such an idiot?" Chapter 1661. Qinggu touched the tip of his nose. It wasn't that he didn't want to say it, but how could he dare to say it now? If ninth sister-in-law found out that he had said too much, she would definitely skin him alive. Thinking of this, Qinggu suddenly shuddered and silently continued to boil the medicine. Jingyu said that they would definitely be injured when they came back, so she asked Qinggu to boil the antidote first so that everyone could drink it when they came back. Since Jingyu had spoken, Qinggu naturally boiled it here slowly. Jingyu and the others followed White Nine and walked forward step by step. The feeling of walking at night was really good, but when they stepped on the sand, they always felt a sense of panic. They kept looking at the sand, afraid that they would step on empty air. When the sand softened, they would fall down. Obviously, this was Jingyu's imagination. How could such a thing happen? Jingyu and the others walked forward while talking and laughing. From time to time, they would ask White Nine how long it would take to reach the place. Finally, when Jingyu asked for the third time, White Nine stretched out his hand and pointed not far away and said, "Do you see that? That is a place with stones and trees. Those stone walls are where those small lizards hide. There is resin on those trees." White Nine panted slightly and said, "You have to be careful. These little guys will drill into your sleeves or pants, so everyone should tighten your sleeves." White Nine said to everyone as he reached out to tie up his sleeves and said slowly, "So scary?" When everyone heard White Nine say drill into the trees, they suddenly felt a chill down their spines. They quickly tied their sleeves and looked at the trees, suddenly having a feeling that they didn't want to walk over. "This little thing's bite is a little painful," White Nine said again. After hearing White Nine's words, everyone looked at each other and the corners of their mouths twitched. "Let's go." Jingyu felt her hair stand on end. She took a deep breath and walked towards the tree. Under the pitch-black night sky, Jingyu's eyes, which were hidden behind the veil, slowly revealed a glimmer of light. Jingyu looked at the little thing hiding in the stone wall. It seemed to be restless because it was disturbed. She carefully stepped on the stone wall and placed the resin into the sack that she had prepared beforehand. In the beginning, everything went smoothly. However, when Jingyu and the others climbed onto the rocks, the quiet little creatures suddenly went crazy and started to climb onto the clothes of Jingyu and the others. A man was successfully bitten. He immediately exclaimed and threw the lizard away. He cursed fiercely, then turned and walked to the other side. "These things are too difficult to deal with." While everyone was working on the resin, they were also trying their best to get rid of the lizards that were clinging to them. "Hurry, hurry, hurry." Jingyu called out to everyone as she got them to hurry up. "Hurry up. Those things are all coming out." White Nine's voice was full of seriousness. When White Nine shouted, everyone hurriedly sped up their actions. Jingyu panted slightly and looked at the little things that came out of the stone wall. Chapter 1662. It was like a never-ending tide. Everyone held their breaths. "Let's go!" Jingyu shouted. Everyone grabbed their bags and rushed out. Jingyu was the last to rush out. Her golden-green eyes suddenly flickered, and the small lizard that was rushing out suddenly circled in place. After everyone ran out, the small lizard that was circling around rushed towards Jingyu and the rest. But now that Jingyu and the rest had escaped, how could they be caught? The plundering operation came to an end. After running for a distance, everyone took off their clothes in an instant and shook out a few small lizards. They touched their bodies and felt a lingering fear. If all of those lizards crawled up and bit you, your nerves would be paralyzed in an instant. Fortunately, they escaped, and no one saw Jingyu's subtle movements. "This thing is really scary," Pang Shuwei said in a panic. "Many ants can bite an elephant to death." "That's true." "Let's go," Jingyu said. She turned her head slightly and looked behind her. She took a deep breath and followed the rest. The harvest this time was very bountiful. When they came back, they collected all the things. The clothes and cloth that they didn't need were wrapped around the tree trunk. Then, they were placed in the resin and put to one side to dry. Everyone was exhausted after a night of torment. Finally, in the second half of the night, they finished everything and rested in peace. The next morning, when they went to look at the resin, they could clearly see that the resin had solidified. Everyone immediately laughed and talked about how scary the lizards were last night. "Isn't it scary?" Qinggu said in agreement. "When you came back, you drank 2 big pots of medicinal juice. I also boiled another pot at the last minute. 3 pots. You didn't leave a single drop." Qinggu looked at everyone and said exaggeratedly, "Do you know that you can solve this problem with 1 bowl each?" You really wasted my medicinal herbs by drinking so much. Ha! When everyone heard Qing Ji's words, they all laughed out loud. Look at your pitiful face. Jing Yu stared at Qing Gu in disdain and said, I saw it yesterday. There are a lot of medicinal herbs in the area where the resin is. I heard that this lizard can also be used as medicine. Why don't you go and catch a few? I don't care. Qing Gu said disdainfully. Yesterday, those people were bitten so fiercely that they were still applying medicine to their wounds. Qing Gu saw the frightening wounds on their bodies and heard them say that the lizard had drilled into their clothes. In an instant, all the hairs on his body stood up. How could he be in the mood to pick medicinal herbs? Enough. Jing Yu glared at Qing Gu. Then she turned to Pang Shuwei and the others and said, Right now, we need to prepare some things for bayonet. Everyone, prepare everything you need. We're setting off. All right. Pang Shuwei responded and stood up to shout. As for Jing Yu's camel, after much thought, she decided to leave it here. If she rode it in, it would definitely be sent to the wolves. It was rare for it to carry her all the way, so she decided to let it play by itself. Chapter 1663. After Jing Yu and the rest released the camel, they followed the others and walked forward. Everyone was on high alert and focused on the situation around them. Everything seemed very quiet, but it was this kind of silence that made people feel incomparably flustered. Everyone was vigilant of their surroundings, but when they suddenly climbed over a small hill, they stood on the hill and saw with their own eyes a scene that made them suck in a breath of cold air. Suddenly, they felt a chill run down their spine. It seems like someone has experienced the feeling of being attacked by a pack of wolves before us. Jing Yu's calm voice sounded. Everyone felt their hearts beating fiercely at this moment. At the bottom of the hill where Jing Yu and the rest were standing, there was a field of corpses and blood. There were human corpses and wolf corpses. There were even 2 or 3 wolves that were tearing the human corpses apart as if they were tasting something delicious. Jing Yu's heart trembled violently. She didn't even have the thought of going down to take a look to see who attacked them. She decisively turned around and walked away. Let's go, we'll take a detour. Jing Yu turned around and walked away. Everyone else also turned around and walked away. The few wolves seemed to have sensed something and looked up, but when they saw Jing Yu and the rest disappearing, they continued to eat. Bai Jiao led Jing Yu and the rest around this bloody place and took another path. They walked forward step by step. They definitely couldn't walk out of this area where the wolves gathered during the day, so they had to spend the night here. This was probably the first time that everyone thought that it would be great if the sun didn't set. But obviously this was impossible. As the night deepened, Jing Yu looked at the sky that was gradually darkening. Her heart was filled with uneasiness. When the afterglow of the setting sun finally disappeared, Jing Yu's eyes were filled with deep worry. Everyone's expression also became a little nervous. Let's find a good place to rest? Jing Yu looked at Pang Shuwei slightly and said, Okay. Pang Shuwei nodded and ordered everyone to look for a good place. At the same time, he also ordered people to look for a good place to defend against the attack of the wolves. After that, he ordered people to look for wood and other things outside. Only then did he slowly let out a sigh of relief. Everyone sat together and quietly waited for the sky to darken inch by inch. Everyone lit up the bonfire and tightly gripped the bayonets in their hands. They looked around the desert with vigilance. Just as everyone was on high alert, a loud wolf howl was heard. Everyone looked up and seemed to see Lone Wolf's figure on the rock from afar. Under the illumination of the full moon, it was so majestic that it was terrifying. Jing Yu slowly stood up, as if she was carefully listening to the wolf's howl. Perhaps it was really because of the scene that they saw during the day. When night came, everyone's spirit was tense. They opened their eyes wide and looked into the night, not daring to relax at all. You don't have to be so nervous. Jing Yu looked at everyone's expressions and casually said, Don't worry, it's fine even if the wolves come. As long as we can kill the alpha wolf, the wolves will naturally flee. Alpha wolf? Everyone heard Jing Yu's words and sat up slightly. Chapter 1664. Wolves are pack animals. Since they live in a pack, they naturally have a leader. If we go to the battlefield to kill the enemy, isn't there a saying that goes, capture the leader first? Jing Yu's words seem to have a rare magical power, calming down everyone's anxious hearts. From Madame's tone, it seems like you are very familiar with this pack of wolves? Pang Shui looked at Jing Yu and asked in confusion. Of course. Jing Yu smiled faintly and said, I have been with wolves since I was young. No one is more familiar with them than me. Jing Yu's words made everyone's eyes widen, as if they were very curious about Jing Yu. During this period of time, it was not difficult to see that Jing Yu and Xiao Chen did not seem to be people of the martial arts world. Judging from their words and actions, they seemed to be noble people. However, now that Jing Yu said that she had been with wolves since childhood, everyone was shocked. When Jing Yu said this, she suddenly thought of something and frowned slightly. It had been a long time since she returned to the Roman forest. She didn't know how Yin Jian and Yin Feng were doing. They had always been together in the past. Jing Yu also thought that there would be a day when they would have to separate. Now that there were so many things to do, it was obvious that she couldn't bring Yin Jian and Yin Feng along. Now that she hadn't seen them for so long, she really missed them. Jing Yu sighed deeply. Just when everyone was about to say something, they suddenly seemed to hear something in the wind. They immediately tensed up and their eyes were filled with seriousness. Everyone stood up one after another. There's movement, Pang Shui said in a serious tone. When everyone heard this, they tightened their grip on the bayonets in their hands. Looking into the dark night, they didn't even dare to blink. All they could hear was the sound of their own heartbeats. They swallowed their saliva slightly and didn't dare to utter a single word. Everyone held their breaths and looked at the dark night. When they saw a figure suddenly step out of the dark night, everyone's expressions suddenly became a little strange, and they frowned fiercely. So it's you guys? Feng Ling was in a sorry state. When she saw Pang Shui and the others glaring at her, she instantly heaved a huge sigh of relief. I've finally found you. Behind Feng Ling, Feng Maching, Su Yu, and the others were also covered in mud and blood. When they saw Jing Yu, they immediately sat down as if they had seen their savior. Young master, my legs have turned to jelly. Feng Ling didn't care about her image at all. She just sat on the ground like that. The people behind her also sat on the ground in exhaustion. Pang Shui and the others looked at each other. They had no idea what was going on. Why are you here? When Jing Yu saw Feng Ling and the rest in such a sorry state, she was also a little puzzled. Only then did she ask, what else can it be? Of course I was chased by a wolf. When Feng Ling heard Jing Yu's words, she almost jumped up. She gritted her teeth and said, you don't know how fierce that hungry wolf is. You guys encountered a pack of wolves? When? Jing Yu's eyes widened slightly as she asked. Last night. Feng Ling lowered her head helplessly and said, we never thought that there would be such fierce desert wolves in this desert. If we didn't run fast enough, you would have to come and collect our corpses. Chapter 1665. Jing Yu furrowed her brows in silence. She looked at Feng Ling as if she was an idiot and said, don't tell me that when you entered the desert, you didn't ask around to find out what was hidden in the desert? Isn't it normal to have desert wolves? Jing Yu said calmly, I know there are, but we've been walking for so long and haven't seen a single wolf. I thought we had gone around it. Who knew that there would be so many of them in this place? If we hadn't reacted quickly enough, we wouldn't have been able to see you today. Feng Ling spoke as if she had been wronged. Jing Yu shook off Feng Ling's hand in disdain and said, all right, stop making a fool of yourself. Look at you guys. You actually managed to escape the siege of a pack of wolves. You're amazing. Jing Yu, are you really mocking us? Feng Ling looked at Jing Yu with resentment. Young Master Pang, give them some of our extra torches. Jing Yu stood up and turned to Pang Shui and said, there's strength in numbers. If we really encounter desert wolves, we can fight them together. Pang Shui naturally did not hesitate. These people were able to escape from the wolves without torches. Jing Yu's words were naturally correct. If they could work together, it would be a great help. After Feng Ling and the others had rested, Jingyu took out some food for them. When Feng Ling and the others had recovered their strength, she asked, "Where did you encounter the pack of wolves? Is it just an ordinary wolf pack, or?" Jingyu did not finish her sentence clearly, but Feng Ling, Su Yu, and the others all understood what Jingyu meant. Suddenly, everyone's faces became serious. "No, it wasn't an ordinary pack of wolves. That's why we stayed here and wanted to find you." Feng Maching's expression also turned ugly. He quietly looked at Jingyu and said, "When the pack of wolves attacked, the situation was still very chaotic. However, the music coming from afar can't escape our ears. It's obvious that someone is controlling the wolf pack. If I'm not wrong, it should be the person from the sound attack aristocratic family that you're looking for." Feng Maching's words were filled with seriousness. As expected, after hearing Feng Maching's words, the expression on Jingyu's face suddenly changed. She clenched her fists and said, "These people from the sound attack aristocratic family are really hiding here. These wolves are being manipulated. If that's the case, it's not good for us." Jingyu frowned and said, "I can't expose my abnormal pupils. If those sound attack family members notice my arrival, I'm afraid we won't be able to get close to Sand City and we will be killed. Jingyu, just tell us the truth." Feng Ling looked at Jingyu with a conflicted expression and said, "The news about the treasure is definitely something you said to fool us, right? Take a guess." Jingyu calmly raised her eyebrows and looked at Feng Ling provocatively. This young master is being used as a tool again. Feng Ling looked at Jingyu's expression and was instantly furious. But now that they had already come to this point, how could they back off? There was no other way but to advance. Feng Ling thought of this and sighed deeply. Chapter 1666. Tell me, how did I provoke the two of you? Feng Ling glared at Jingyu and Xiao Chen as she spoke. Suddenly, she seemed to have thought of something and looked at Jingyu fearfully, saying, "Wait a minute." "What?" Jingyu turned to look at Feng Ling and asked in confusion, "What did you just say?" Feng Ling seemed to have thought of something terrifying. She swallowed her saliva and looked at Jingyu, saying, "You said you can't expose your abnormal pupils. What do you mean? Do you want us to face the wolf pack alone? In other words, you can't control the wolf pack to retreat?" Feng Ling stared closely at Jingyu as she asked. "Of course," Jingyu said calmly as she nodded. "Oh my God!" Feng Ling immediately fell back and said loudly, "The heavens want me dead. Big brother, can't you be more mature?" Feng Yu kicked her short legs in disdain as she said in disdain. "Ah." Jingyu looked at Feng Ling and Feng Yu and instantly laughed. She said calmly, "It's just a wolf pack. If they really push me too far, so what if I kill those people playing the flute?" Jingyu's words were full of disdain. When Feng Ling heard Jingyu's words, she immediately sat up and looked at Jingyu seriously, saying, "Don't be rash. Right now, the people from the sound attack aristocratic family have only summoned a pack of wolves. If you expose yourself and anger the people from the sound attack aristocratic family, I think they will summon all the living creatures in this desert. Then we..." When Jingyu heard Feng Ling's words, she instantly laughed and said happily, "Why didn't I see it before? You still have some brains." Hey, how can you say that?" When Feng Ling heard Jingyu's words, she was instantly enraged. That angry look on her baby face was really adorable. "All right." Su Yu looked at the rowdy people and rubbed her forehead with a headache. She said, "Let's quickly rest for the first half of the night. Who knows if the wolves will come for the second half of the night. This area is very big. We'll have to walk for a few days before we can get out." "That's right. We didn't rest well last night. We have to sleep well today," Feng Ling said and pulled Feng Yu to sleep. Feng Yu pushed her brother away in disdain, but Feng Ling didn't care. She hugged Feng Yu again and went to sleep contentedly. In this desert, everyone was resting. What they didn't know was that in the dark night, two pairs of eyes were quietly watching this group of people. The corners of their mouths slowly curled up. The cold look in their eyes was so frightening that it made people's hair stand on end. "Second brother, are we going?" A childish voice sounded, and the two people hiding behind the rock stood up. Both of them were not tall, and they looked to be about 15 years old. The girl was around 12 years old. Both of them had a jade flute on their waists. At this moment, they were hiding behind the rock and quietly watching Jingyu's group. "No need," the man said faintly. "Let them live for one more day." "Oh," the little girl asked in confusion. "Why?" Second aunt said that she wanted to scare these people away. Chapter 1667. Good girl, just listen to me. The man patted the little girl's head and said, "When they go deeper, we'll be able to summon even more wolves. We'll bury all of them here." The little girl said in shock, "But second aunt said that it would be fine as long as we chase them away. Those who invade my sound attack family deserve to die. Moreover, these people actually want to enter Sand City. They must be coveting the wealth of my sound attack family. If we let these people go, there will definitely be more people coming to the desert." The man's eyes were filled with viciousness as he spoke. "Little sister Zhu, you are still young. When you grow up, you will know how evil the people of the outside world are," the man said as he held the little girl's hand and said, "Let's go. We will let these people live for one more day." "Oh." The little girl nodded as if she understood and quietly left with the man. Second brother must be right. After all, second brother was the most powerful person in the younger generation with sound attacks. It was already a great honor to be able to come out with second brother this time. As the little girl thought of this, her eyes were filled with smiles. She arched her eyebrows and looked up. Under the moonlight, his young face was already so handsome. If he grew up, he would definitely be extraordinarily handsome. The little girl's eyes were filled with amazement. She wanted to grow up quickly. When she grew up, she would become very, very beautiful. She also wanted to learn this sound attack technique well so that she could marry second brother in the future. When the little girl thought about this, her face turned red. It seemed that her hand was burning. It felt so good to be held by second brother like this. "Why is your hand so hot?" Just as the little girl's thoughts were running wild, the man suddenly stopped and asked, "Do you feel uncomfortable?" When the little girl heard the man's words, she suddenly felt as if her hand had thorns. She quickly pulled her hand back and walked a few steps before saying, "Let's go quickly." The man seemed to be slightly puzzled, but he didn't think too much about it. After nodding at the little girl, he leisurely walked on the desert. Their footsteps on the desert were so casual. Facing the moonlight, they looked so cold, as if they were born to be in this desert. The little girl's voice resounded in the empty desert, causing the man's eyebrows to be tinged with a faint smile. It was so captivating. Jingyu knew nothing about what happened in the desert that night. She only knew that Jingyu slept very comfortably and didn't wait for the sun to rise. They didn't encounter any attacks from the wolves, which was really fortunate. How comfortable! Feng Ling looked at the rising sun. This was the first time she felt that the sun was so warm. She happily turned to look at Jingyu and said, "There really weren't any wolves last night, right? Did you do something?" "You think too much." Jingyu looked at Feng Ling from the corner of her eyes and said, "If a pack of wolves really comes, I'll let them bite you to death first." Chapter 1668. TSK. A woman's heart is the most vicious. Feng Ling looked at Jingyu with disdain and said, "This young master risked his life to inform you, and you actually want the desert wolf to bite me to death?" Vicious. Feng Ling glared at Jingyu and said, "Madam, I agree." Feng Yu raised her hand and said seriously, "Remember, you must let the desert wolf bite your mouth first. Brother Ling's mouth is getting more and more disgusting." "Great. Feng Yu, you're actually siding with an outsider." Feng Ling was so angry that she wanted to grab Feng Yu and hit her. Feng Yu nimbly squeezed into the crowd. It was so lively early in the morning, and Jingyu's eyes were also tinged with a faint smile. Feng Maching. When Jingyu turned her head, she saw Feng Maching staring at the sand in the distance in a daze. She was slightly stunned, and then seemed to have thought of something. She frowned slightly and called out to Feng Maching. Feng Maching responded very calmly. No one could see any abnormality on his face. Needless to say, Feng Maching, who was like that back then, suddenly became like this. It really surprised Jingyu. She even felt a little unaccustomed. Did you find him? Jingyu asked slowly. Feng Maching lowered his eyes slightly and said, maybe he didn't enter the depths of the desert. Jingyu heard Feng Maching's words and frowned in confusion. She asked curiously, how do you know? Based on his personality, coming to the desert is just for show. Even if he came in, he wouldn't get anything. Moreover, it's such an empty thing. He must be in the periphery. Feng Maching said very calmly. I really didn't expect you to know him so well. Jingyu seemed to have thought of something and asked tentatively, you're like this, because of him? Feng Maching's face stiffened slightly, and he didn't speak. Say, what kind of riddles are these two playing? Why is it always him? Su Yu curiously poked the masked king of hell and asked. However, after asking for a long time, Su Yu's face suddenly stiffened. She looked up at the iron mask and speechlessly held her forehead. She was really out of her mind to ask this mute such a question. Let's go, let's go. Hearing Qing Ji's shout, Jingyu and the rest quickly packed up their things and continued walking towards the depths of the forest. Jingyu and Xiaochen walked in front under the scorching sun. If we can make it through tonight, we should be able to get out of this area before dark tomorrow. Bai Jiao said slowly beside Jingyu. As he spoke, he looked around. The desert was exceptionally quiet, but it was also exceptionally unsettling. Jingyu turned to White Nine and asked, but if we encounter an attack tonight, I'm afraid it will be the fiercest one, right? Bai Jiao nodded silently. Xiaochen slightly tightened his grip on Jingyu's hand, as if telling Jingyu not to worry. Jingyu felt Xiaochen's concern and a faint smile appeared on her face. She looked up at Xiaochen and said, don't worry, nothing will happen. Chapter 1669. If it weren't for the fact that I don't know why Yi Shui was captured by the aristocratic family of musical attacks, I would have led my army to flatten this desert a long time ago. Jingyu smirked arrogantly. I hope they didn't do anything to Yi Shui. Ninth Imperial Concubine, thank you very much. Bai Jiao heard Jingyu's words and thanked her deeply. Yi Shui provoked the aristocratic family of musical attacks because of me. Besides, I'll make sure they pay me back double for what they did to me in the past. Didn't they say that the aristocratic family of musical attacks had disappeared? I didn't expect them to still be here. Since they want to disappear so badly, I might as well fulfill their wish. Jingyu said it so casually, but Feng Ling, Su Yu, and the others all pulled the corners of their mouths. How arrogant. However, Jingyu was probably the only one who had the right to be so arrogant. First, she erased Nan Li's name from history. Then, she destroyed the Holy Family. Then, she forced the Cebu to submit to her. Finally, she forced the Poison Sect to disband. And now, she set her sights on the aristocratic family of musical attacks again. Jingyu's means simply made them tremble with fear just thinking about it. Originally, when they talked about this matter, they didn't feel anything, but after connecting these matters one by one, they suddenly felt that their legs were soft. They wondered what kind of situation the aristocratic family of musical attacks would face this time. Thinking of this, there was only one thought in everyone's mind. That was, they sincerely hoped that these people from the Sound Attack aristocratic family would not be too harsh on Jingyu. Otherwise, they would definitely die miserably. Jingyu had never been lenient. It's so hot. Jingyu could practically feel her clothes sticking to her back. She lowered her head helplessly and sighed deeply. Do you want to take a break? Xiaochen asked with a slight frown when he saw Jingyu's state. No need, Jingyu said against the blazing sun. Let's go quickly. Only now did Jingyu realize how fortunate it was to be able to ride a camel. What made Jingyu very surprised was that under such difficult conditions, Feng Yu seemed to be completely fine. She was still fooling around and didn't seem delicate at all. This desert is nothing. Jingyu asked curiously. Suddenly, the little girl raised her head and said, Back then, my master threw me into the desert and gave me nothing but a knife. I'm still alive and well. Ugh. Jingyu swallowed her saliva and asked, "Is your master that cruel?" "Of course not. My master treats me this way because he thinks I'm good. What do you know?" Feng Yu said disdainfully. Jingyu immediately shut her mouth. Just as she was about to ask a few more questions, she suddenly saw that the group had stopped. "What's going on in front?" Jingyu asked curiously. Just as Jingyu finished speaking, someone called out to Qinggu. Jingyu frowned slightly and walked forward with Xiao Chen and the others. In front of Jingyu saw a person lying motionless on the sand. It was a familiar face. Jingyu had seen him before. He seemed to be someone Pang Shiwei knew. Was his name Zhuji? Chapter 1670. It seems like he was injured by a wolf. Pang Shiwei frowned and said, "I don't know how long he ran before he fainted here. Lord Qinggu, how are his injuries?" "It's nothing serious. He just fainted and suffered some superficial wounds." Qinggu quickly took out something and fed it into his mouth. Then he asked for some water and fed it to him. "Isn't this person your enemy? Why did you save him?" Jingyu looked at Pang Shiwei's actions and asked in confusion. When Pang Shiwei was in trouble, Jingyu remembered that Zhuji wanted their lives. "It's not a life-and-death enemy." Pang Shiwei laughed and shook his head, saying, "It's just that our forces are different and we're used to friction. We don't like each other. When he was defeated by me, he felt embarrassed and even attacked me." "Even so, why did you save him?" Jingyu suddenly understood why so many people were willing to give Pang Shiwei face. It was rare for a man to be so magnanimous. However, no matter how Jingyu looked at it, Zhuji didn't seem like someone who would give face. "There's another reason." Pang Shiwei pursed his lips and said, "Back then, his father and my father were sworn brothers. Our family owes him a life." When Jingyu heard Pang Shiwei's words, her eyes widened as if she thought of something. She frowned slightly and didn't say anything. This was a complicated relationship. Seeing Pang Shiwei like this, it seemed like he didn't want to talk about it. Under Qing Ji's treatment, Zhuji's complexion finally improved. Qinggu skillfully removed the silver needle. Zhuji coughed slightly and slowly opened his eyes. After looking around, he saw Pang Shiwei and the others and closed his eyes again. "He's fine. He just fell asleep." Qinggu stood up and said casually, "Third brother, what about this person?" Pang Shiwei frowned slightly and asked, "Let's go." Pang Shiwei also frowned and said, "I can't just leave him here after saving him. If that's the case, why would I save him?" Mali responded and called for the others to take turns carrying Zhuji forward. When the sky gradually darkened, Zhuji finally woke up. Since they could not get out today, they decided to stop and let Zhuji have a good rest. "How do you feel?" Pang Shiwei walked up and handed the kettle to Zhuji. Zhuji was silent for a moment. He looked up at Pang Shiwei and asked, "Why did you save me?" "I saw him, so I saved him." Pang Shiwei placed the kettle beside Zhuji and asked, "Why are you here alone? Where's your team?" "He ran away." Zhuji curled his lips in disdain and said, "When we encountered a pack of wolves, those people told us to stay and block them. Then they all ran away. Those things want to leave me alone to feed the wolves. Do you think I'm so easy to deceive?" Since they thought so, I abandoned them all and ran away. Zhuji said casually, but Jingyu, who was standing at the side, felt a strong sense of resentment from Zhuji. Pang Shiwei had already guessed it, but he didn't expect it to be like this. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.